is it children growing here end up with, and it's both deen and dunya. Why is it children growing up in this area of Newcastle? If you see them, they are underdeveloped. They have high levels of obesity. They have high levels of social problems. They have poorer education. They have lower wages. They have lower impact in society. Why is it children growing here? And we go to just Jesmond, which is only 2 miles this way. The same children in Jesmond have higher life opportunities, better physical health, better mental health, better emotional health, better social skills, better educational attainment, go to the right universities, doing the right kind of achievement, have more of a positive role in society. Why is it only 2 miles difference between children there and children here? And there is a difference in children, in the life experience of the children there and the life of the experience in the children here. What's going on? In every single Muslim area that I go to in the UK, we are underdeveloped. Do you know that there are 10 areas in the UK which have what we call child poverty? Child poverty means that children are living in below the national average wage in poor families. 10 areas in the country, the 10 highest areas in the country, 8 of them are majority Muslim areas. No, this is no point saying, oh, it's terrible. The point of the matter is this, yeah? What's going on in our community? And this is a pattern that's happened for 30 years. And we blame who? The society. We know there's racism. We know there's Islamophobia. We know there's all these other problems. But we don't blame the parents. And we don't blame the father. And I'm going to blame the father. Because this is ultimately, as I said, the hadith is very clear. الرجل راع على أهل البيت. The man is in charge of his family. You are responsible 0 to 4. I was talking to, and the person keeps on text messaging to me today because his wife has told him to leave the house now. And for 20 years, his children hate him, don't want anything to do with him. Why? He doesn't get involved, doesn't do anything with his children, doesn't spend any time. All he gave was the nutfa amshaj. That's it. That's all the men do. Provide the raw materials. They're not providing the real hard work that is required in the nurturing. And the Prophet ﷺ is our model. And he looked after children. And they were under his guardianship, ﷺ. And he nurtured and he developed them. And the quality that above all of the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةٍ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. He came as a mercy to all of the worlds. And the rahmah that he had for children is especially so. And they would come into the masjid and they would climb, or his grandchildren would climb on his back. And he would not even get up from sajda. You know, and this is just some of the amazing stories. That's why I love to see children in the masjid. We love to see them here. We want their heart attached. And when they come with their father and they're standing next to their father and they're making sajda together, Allahu Akbar, what a beautiful thing. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Oh Allah, make our wives and our children satisfying to our eyes. This is the beauty of our, this is the satisfaction in our eyes when we see our children making sajda and ruku with their father in the saf, in the masjid. Allahu Akbar. And some people say, oh, don't bring children to the masjid, they make too much noise. We want their noise in the masjid. This is our point. We don't want their noise on the street. We want them to love this building. But our children are not loving this building. Let me tell you why. And we see it here now, in this room now. Everywhere I go. Brothers, you know why this is such an important talk? Do you know we have 3.5 million Muslims in the UK? 3.5 million. Allahu Akbar, what a great number. 67% of them are under the age of 25. 67%. That means for the rest of us, 33% of the rest of us are over 25. I'm 55. I'm the minority of my community. The majority of my children, all my children are under 30. So if you think about it, 5 children under the age of 30. So even in my family, it's 70% under the age of 30. Allahu Akbar. Okay? This is our community. 67% are under the age of 25. But every masjid that I go to in the UK, we see young children under the age of 11 in the madrasa. But the 11 to 25-year-old, where are they? Where are they even here? Some, alhamdulillah, because we are better at engaging our youth. But most of the masajid, where is the 11 to 25-year-olds? Which is 67% of your jama'ah. And it will remain like this until the year 2040. It's called the youth bulge. And they're not coming to the masjid. They're not connected to the masjid. Because their parents are not connected. And their father is really the ultimate role model. You see, the father doesn't just, his authority isn't, I'm your father. You have to listen to me. It is to lead by example. Because I told you, from 0 to 4, the child is following the parents. They are the primary carers. They are the ones, and how does the child learn? If you know what's going on in the brain of a child, the child is developing 1 million synaptic connections per second. Every second it's connecting, the brain is being rewired in the years 0 to 4. And the way the child learns is like a sponge from the parents and in the environment. And it imitates the behavior, the father and what he has given birth to. They're imitating behavior. If you are, as one child said to me, my parent came to me, oh, why does my son lie? I told him not to lie. I told him not to lie. This is the thing. You tell him not to do it, but he's looking at you. Abu's saying don't lie, but he lies. He breaks his problems. He says, inshallah, it never happens. He makes a wa'ada, he breaks his wa'ada. He says, don't do this, he's doing it himself. What do you think? You're saying one thing, completely doing the opposite thing. You are the primary role model. And most of the time, the father's not even there. Because you see, this is the big problem. In civilized countries in the world, the father spends more time with the children because they have what we call less time at work, more time in home. And he says, how many times have I heard the father saying, oh, I'm doing this to make money for my children. Your children don't need this money. This is a deception. The children need you, not the money. The children will not remember the PlayStation. They will remember kicking the football in the park with Abu. That's what they will remember. Or a barbecue. Abu had a barbecue and we had food together. We went on a picnic together. This is what. And if you want your children to be, as I said, a sadaqah jariyah for you, and you want them to be lil muttaqina imama, this is how you achieve it. Not by giving them PlayStations, and not by giving them smartphones, but by giving this rahmah of contact with them, spending time. It's called attachment. Our children detach from their mother and father. And in puberty, they're attached to what? What do we see all of our children doing? 11 to 25. Where are they attached? Where is their connection? Where is their focus? What is the space they like to be in? They're addicted to these things, subhanAllah. And they're out there, and what makes them happy is dunya, getting the latest designer clothes and things like this, in the shopping malls and things like this. Not coming to... Look, the proof is here in the room. Where is 11 to 25-year-old group? Why haven't they come to the masjid with their father? Because they don't like their father. They've already disconnected from their father. They're broke. As I said, there's a big fundamental breakdown, and it is all down to this. Don't blame the society. Allah gave you the amana of your child. And this is it. We bring the children into the world. And I say this, bringing children, having lots and lots of children, this is not what the objective is. The objective is, as I said, our children have to be the ones who we nurture and we develop so that they are truly going to be leaders. And this is, again, as I said, the way that the Prophet ﷺ was so child-centered. He was very child-centered, the Prophet ﷺ. The mercies that he showed, the way that he instructed them, the way that he taught the children. Look at all the Sahaba, radiallahu anhu. They were young people who spent time in the service of the Prophet ﷺ. Throughout the Quran, we give the stories of all the youth and the shabab, who are the fitya, the noble youth, Ashab al-Kahf, who run away from the elders. Ashab al-Kahf, by the way, when we read it every Jummah, they're running away from the elders. Not running to the elders, they're running to the cave for refuge away from the elders, because the elders were upon misguidance. If you look at all the stories, you see the relationship between father and son is something which is a key thing. Now, one of the reasons why we don't have talks on fatherhood and is this, because this is again part of the way that Islam is presented. We always go on about, as we know, this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, who is most worthy of your respect and honor after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? As we know, Allah says in the Quran, Ani'budullah, He says, worship Allah, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and then obviously do good to your parents and be just to your parents and dutiful to your parents. And we know the hadith where it states, Ummi, then Abi. But what this has basically meant is that everyone just focuses on the mother. And they forget about the very crucial role of the father as the leader. And I said, it's being undermined by policies in these societies which undermine the role of the father. The father is not seen as even important in this society anymore. It's called, as I said, I call it de-fatherization. That the father is all the time, work. The importance of the role of the wife, the mother, female empowerment. But then where we have male empowerment? Where do we have the men being developed to be better, spending more time with their children, spending more time connecting with them. They don't want this connection. You break this connection, and who becomes the father? The social media, the state. Other people are taking on the role of the father, the influencing role, the nurturing role, the development role, not the father. And again, because of many of the cultural practices we have, which are not in accordance with the example of the Prophet ﷺ, the model of parenting that we have and the fathers is authoritarian, not authoritative. These are called parenting styles. Authoritarian means the way we were brought up, my way or the highway. You know, parents, the father will just lay down the law, but not be an example of the law. If you want your children really to follow you, you can't do it with harshness. The Prophet ﷺ didn't do it this way. The people loved to follow the Prophet ﷺ because of the qualities that he ﷺ had, not because the Prophet ﷺ had to force his way upon people. And so again, this is a breakdown in terms of the role. So when we see all of these patterns, and when I go to prison and I see in prison, you know, the fathers don't even come to prison to visit their children. They don't come to prison. It's mothers who are coming to prison. And I see all the time women in hijab coming to prison to see their kids. It makes me so sad when I see this mother has to go through the humiliation of coming to prison to see her son or even daughter, in female prisons, And even then the father isn't coming, okay? Whose fault is it? And then this is the key point. Whose fault is it? They're blaming everyone. Why is your son or daughter involved in criminal behavior? Why? Why did they end up in the bad company? Why did they end up? And it all comes down to it. If you as a father do not establish, okay, yourself as the ultimate role model that your children imitate the behavior, and they look at your, what we call value system, your aqidah, your akhlaq and your adab, and they say, this is who we want to be like. If they don't want to be, if you're not doing that, they will immediately connect to something else. Because that's just the nature of how the child's brain is working. And again, this hadith, it proves it, that we have the fitrah, every child. So, if I go back onto this point, am I right or wrong? The children here in this area, when we analyze them, many from Muslim backgrounds, and also the poorer backgrounds where there's the white community as well, you see that the children are on these indicators: crime, mental health, employment, and social problems. They have a worse situation. Fact, true, yes? Then you go to what we call the so-called middle-class posh areas, Jasmine, yes? Why are the children there in Jasmine doing better than the children here on West Road? Why? Has anyone analysed this question? What is the reason why? Anyone? Can anyone give me an answer to this?
I think the point of view is different, which way they are better.
Okay.
Not necessarily from Tarbiyat point of view.
Yes. But our children don't have tarbiyah either because they're not coming to the masjid either. So, Sheikh, I know what you're saying. We're analysing on different indicators. If I go to this area, I also try and find the children on better manners. They have better manners. And sometimes they don't involve in crime. They don't throw rubbish on the street. Small things, yeah. So on so many indicators, you go to Jasmine as an area. I don't know Newcastle well, but other city. When you go to Jasmine area, what is it like? It's clean, isn't it? The streets are all clean, the houses are all clean. Why? Why are the children not running around, throwing things on the floor, driving their cars fast, causing disruption to everyone else, having fights in the street, selling drugs on the corner of the street? Why are they doing that? So on some indicators...
The mother is allowed to do everything at home. Not ask, decided to do something.
Okay, so look, I'm not saying it's perfect, but there is a difference, yes? Yeah? So there is a difference between this area and this area. So why? What's going on with those parents and these parents? This is the big question. Anyone can tell me.
I'm thinking stress. So would you say that parents here in this area are under more stress than those parents who have less time, maybe?
I told you, this society, you're absolutely right, creates more mental health problems for the parents here. Because you're right, parents live here in poorer conditions. It's harder to, especially now, cost of living crisis, paying all the bills. Dads are out there doing 14-hour shifts, coming home tired. They've got no time for their children. And so therefore, they are not involved in their children's lives at all. Mother's at home looking after so many kids, doing all the housework. She hasn't got time for them. So, who is bringing up the children? We're doing what we call food, clothing, and shelter, but where's tarbiyah? And where's, other very important teaching and lesson and spending time and connecting and being like we always say, isn't the home the first madrasa? And teaching your children and spending time with them and talking to them and doing activities with them and doing things like sport with them and all these kind of things. I'm not saying they're much better on the other side, but we just look at the children's life opportunities. Both these groups of children, the children who live there, they're not better than the children here. They're both born on fitrah. The hadith proves it. They're born on fitrah. But their environment is different. And that environment seems to develop them better. And this environment is underdeveloping them. And our communities, not just here in the UK, I've seen this also in Pakistan, I've seen this in many Middle Eastern countries as well. It's not just you here. We are not, and it's because the model of parenting is broken. We're not following the proper way of the Prophet ﷺ. And we're not involved. We just bring the children into the world and that's it. Okay? And really, how much time, quality time, does the father spend with the child? And really build this connection with them, which will last all the way through the life. There's this hadith, it's da'if, but its meaning is correct, yeah? And it's about, first 7 years is rahmah for the child. You just show love, that's it. And then from 7 to 14 is tarbiyah. That's where you have to educate them. And you should be the primary educator. You're teaching them the basics of their aqidah and their ibadah and halal, haram, and tahara and etiquettes and adab and suluk and all of these things. Today, where's the adab amongst children? This 11 to 25-year-old group. Okay, like I said, they come up to you and they say, all right, bro. I don't mind being called bro, it's not the problem. But I said, look, I'm your grandfather's age nearly. Yeah? You're going to be bro. Okay. They don't even know how to address an elder. They don't even know how to talk to people. If you don't even know how to conduct yourself in society, okay, is bizarre. Whereas other children, I find they have better manners. It's strange. Okay, this is just a simple example. Why? Because they're only going to model their environment. And what is the experience of their environment? Okay, even today we have, I'll give you a simple example. I heard it today, because the camp was on, and it's not criticism of anyone. I heard children referring to their dad as he. You might think it's a small thing. But he's coming. My dad's left the world, Allah yarham, yeah, but I never ever, in all my life, ever called my dad he. Never. I always called him Abu, okay, or dad, I called him. I never ever called him he. I never called my mum she. Never. Why? This is me. Do you think it's a small thing? It's not a small thing. It's a profound lack of manners. And why is there a profound lack of manners? Because the whole system is broken. And the whole, because really, your dad is he. He's not someone you know. He's not someone you really respect and honor. You would never call someone you really have value for and respect and honor for just in what I call an ordinary term, would you? You don't do that. It's basic fitrah as well, the nature of people. Just small examples I'm giving here of some of the real problems that we have. So the hadith, as it says, is that everyone is a shepherd and everyone must fulfill that which they are in charge of. And it makes it very clear. Before it mentions al-imra, the wife, okay, it mentions al-rajulu, the man. Our homes are patriarchal. The order of Islam is patriarchal, and there's massive anti-patriarchy thing. Oh, we have to fight the patriarchy, because obviously various politics out there is against this whole notion. And we've allowed this to happen as well within our communities. Why? Let me tell you how we've allowed it to happen. Not because we ourselves, as men and as fathers, and let me tell you, being a father is one of the greatest honors we can have, subhanAllah. That by Allah's grace, Allah gave us the amana of children. And that, we are there to, as the ayah says, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْدُهَا مِن بَعْدٍ. This is what it's about. Generations one after the other. We are here to nurture the next generation. And let me tell you, if you truly accept the role of the father and understand what is the role of the father, you'll realize this role of the father will improve you and develop you as a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you're just going to use this as a privilege, I'm the father, do what, and just order your children, then this is not really. So the role of the father is such a great role in society, such a powerful role. But the role, like I said, has been totally disintegrated. And we've allowed this to happen. And we ourselves are not learning the skills that are required to actually, to overcome the situation. So when I said, if I go back to 2 areas, and I go and compare 2 areas, what it shows is this. Postcode is more powerful than genetic code. That's what it means. Does anyone get that point? Postcode is more powerful than genetic code. Because Jesmond postcode is more powerful than this postcode. That's what it proves. The same kids. And look, this is not, but I'll give you an example. I was brought up in a poor family. My dad was a bus driver. I grew up in a very poor environment. I went to university, taught at Oxford, Cambridge University, 2 universities that I've lectured at, alhamdulillah. And when I went to Oxford and Cambridge and I taught people at Oxford and Cambridge University, I did not find that they were more intelligent than the children that are from here. They haven't got more brain cells. They haven't got more, you could say, ability. They haven't. They've got the same ability, if not maybe even less ability than the children here that are children. It's just that the children here haven't been developed to achieve this potential. We have underdeveloped our children. We are not developing the potential of our children. And I want to tell you why our children are being so underdeveloped at the moment. What is the percentage of children in the mainstream society? How many children are they having per family? Anyone got an idea? The average
1.8?
1.8 was around 25 years ago. It was really about 20.8. It's 0.7. That's how many children people are having in the mainstream society. 0.7. What's the average for Muslim family size? 4.8. Who's got more to lose? And who is losing more? Yeah? Can you see the point? So when we lose this, we call it social capital. When we're losing all of our capital, as I said, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْدٍ. One generation after the other, the generation comes is so broken, is so confused. We're seeing all of these problems that I'm going to talk about. The mental health crisis I'll talk about tomorrow. All the issues there, the criminal issue. And I'll show you the statistics are here clear. If you go to the Ministry of Justice and you do a download for proportion of Muslim young offenders in Young Offenders Institutes in the UK for the statistics 22-23, it will show you the figures and it will show you clearly. The number of white offenders is going down. The number of offenders from Muslim backgrounds is going up and has been going up for the last 20 years. It's a fact. It's there. Yes, it's because the system is against us. No, it's because of Abawahu, parents. I'm going to call it for what it is. It's the parents. Because why is it that your child thinks it's all right to engage in criminal activity? Who told them this? Where did they get this? Why did they end up in the environment? And one of the things that many of you who work with me know, I get calls every week. At least 3 calls minimum every week to deal with all the kind of social problems. And they're always parents calling me up and their life is like devastated with the news that their child has become this, or this. Okay, one of the things that children are becoming is, as we know, they're saying, "Na'udhu billah, we're not Muslim anymore." They're claiming that they have left Islam, they're not interested in Islam. That's one of the things that they're claiming. The other is that they have serious mental health problems. Maybe they try to commit suicide or cut themselves or things like that. And then there are other drug problems and criminal. And there, at that point, they will say, and I had it today, I will do anything and everything so that you can help my child. And I will say to them, when at their 16-year-old, I said, you had them for 16 years. You had them for 16 years. I can't fix a problem and they think I can do it in 1 week. I can't fix a 16-year-old problem. Okay, and you had them for 16. You created this. Because as I'm going to show you, it all started from 0 to 7. Fact. If you don't get 0 to 7 right, you're going to suffer post 14. So I said 0 to 7 is rahmah. 7 to 14 is tarbiyah. After 14, they are your ashab. Your sons are going to be taller than you and bigger than you soon, yeah. And they like your companions. Although, they're not your friends or anything else. They're like, they are independent. And if by this age you haven't put in the value system, and you haven't developed the potential, it's gone, it's finished. It's too late. Of course things can change and people can change, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying then you go into crisis management. But if you do all of the work early on, 0 to 7, put all of that tarbiyah, attachment, bonding, mercy, love, compassion, you'll see the benefits at the age of 15. But this is precisely the time, 0 to 7, they take fathers away from children. And then fathers always say to me, oh, I'm going to earn lots of money, and when I'm 40, I'm going to spend time with my children. Too late. And all of them then come up to me and they cry. You know what they're crying? Oh, I wish I had spent more time with my children. Or I wish I hadn't spent all my time making money and doing all this. My children have left me now. They're not interested in being with me anymore. So these are the things that we hear very, very commonly in relation to this particular kind of issue, yeah? So 0 to 7, as I said, this is this critical period. Why is it such a critical period, the 0 to 7? As I said, and the hadith proves it. As I said, the hadith of Fitrah, it proves it. Because what's happening in this period is that the child is, and even before that, even in the womb, brothers, actually, okay, the child is developing in the womb. You know, we know this. Okay, so our deen, it teaches this as well, yeah? You know, it's interesting that, you know, the womb is Rahm, it's named, and the Rahmah comes from this. This is the place where the child is nurtured for 9 months and protected in this place. But you know what happens is this. You know how children get affected in the womb? Again, the beneficial knowledge that we have. If a woman's cortisol levels are elevated during pregnancy, cortisol is the stress hormone. And it's caused when you're living in an abusive situation or a stressful situation. Now, if someone's a refugee and pregnant, and that our sister who's a refugee is going through hardships and difficulties because she's a refugee, people understand that, you know, and then she's got elevated cortisol levels and the child is being exposed to that in the womb, then this starts affecting the development of the child within the womb. Now, if that cortisol levels are down to the father, okay, of the child not having a healthy relationship with the mother, as we know happens, domestic violence or abuse or things taking place in the home, the mother's in a stressful situation already. Who's causing the stressful situation? It's often family members. And it's often, okay, the man in the household which is causing these issues. Let's be honest, this is a reality. I work with it every day. And then the child comes into the world and then, you know, again, men will play a bit of a role, but really, it's the females who are doing most of the nurturing and caring, and that's important, alhamdulillah. But the father has a massively important role also. Who said it's just women's role to nurture and bring up the early year children and to cause the maternal bonding? Who said that was it? No, it's also the role of the father, okay, to be fully engaged in this period. And the connection that you build, like I said, this is a lifelong connection. So one of the interesting studies, so this whole program, and look, I'm just giving you a taster of the program. I said 12 modules. There's 1,267 slides here, yeah? And it goes through all these, this program. And it goes through every element. And I'm going to show you some of the elements of the program just today. This is my introduction, and I'm going to take you through some of the elements of the program. And the difference between Jesmond and here is this. They have already had this knowledge for X number of years. And they put it into practice. That's all they do. They don't do anything more. They've just taken everything that I'm talking about here today. They've known about it for years. And they put it into practice. Whereas we don't even acquire this knowledge. As I said, who went to a course about what it means to be a father and Islamic tarbiyah around what it means to be a man and what kind of the role the father is? None of us even have been to a lecture like this. The women go to parenting classes. It becomes a women-only thing. The man thinks my role is just to be a provider. Just to provide for the financial running of the household, which is important, but not all of the other very, very critical, more critical than the provision. Because Allah will provide for you, really. You know there's a hadith that every child brings rizq. So the child is bringing the rizq as well. So sometimes you forget this, yeah? Okay? And you have to keep the balance. And why do we, people, they're chasing so much money and lifestyle. Why? Your real wealth is your children who will be sadaqah jariyah for you. That's your real. How many times children say, I don't even want to know my parents anymore? This is what's happening in this current kind of generation. So the people in Jesmond, They take this program and the 1,267 slides, they study it, they learn it, they put a plan of action into place, and they implement it with their children. And a simple example is this, one of the simplest examples. You will find that people in that area do not dump their children in front of a PlayStation or Xbox, or in front of a tablet, or give them a smartphone at a young age and put them in front of digital devices. They're not doing that. They don't do it. And we do. Large family sizes. They only got 0.7 children anyway, so it's a bit easier to run 1.7 child compared to 4.8 children. Okay, it's a bit easier, yeah, if you think about it, yeah. You know, so we're running, you know, the mother's in crisis mode. And so she's just dumping children with devices. And these devices, unsupervised, without even any kind of digital software to manage it, are completely indoctrinating programming. And why is it then, and this is one of my specialty areas in the last couple of years, we call it neurodiversity now, what's called autism spectrum disorder, or what used to be called learning disability. Brothers, you know, in our community, there are real pockets of autism and autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Why is this occurring in our communities more disproportionately to other communities? Why? Because essentially you're putting them, dumping them in front of what I call high definition media. They're being bombarded with this stuff. They're being completely unsupervised, left in these spaces with this particular material. And then you expect them to be, after hyperstimulation of the brain, come and sit down and listen to Islamic talks and Islamic lectures. And TikTok is another prime example. No parent should ever allow, and father should ever allow their child to be exposed to something like TikTok. Do you know, and I've said it many times, do you know who designed TikTok and what it was designed for? TikTok was designed by psychologists to create maximum addiction potential, to basically this format, which, and people say they're doing this TikTok format, and after hours and hours, they're still doing it. And it's filth. And there is a congressional meeting, the Congress in America had a meeting on TikTok to declare this as a danger to the mental health of American children, because it's designed to damage mental health, and at the same time sell, you know, their products as well. So they're creating consumerism alongside damaging mental health, and they're controlling your child because they are controlling the algorithm, what your child is exposed to, and the material that they're exposed to, and they change it depending on whether it's Chinese children or Western children. So here they'll send all the filth, whereas the Chinese children are told to work hard and to put their mind to studies, and that's how they're brainwashing them. And this is the bottom line. People in Jessamine don't do this. I'm sure they still do, but they'll do it lesser, whereas this becomes the normalized behavior. And we lose our children. And one of the things that happens with our children is what we call double life syndrome. Double life syndrome is this, bros. In the home, they will basically conform to the requirements of what the home, but outside of the home, they're leading a double life. Okay? And that they are up to different behaviors outside, and they keep these two lives separate. And that itself is completely confusing for children, because they have two masters. They're being pulled in opposite directions. We call it cultural conflict. We call it identity conflict. We call it inferiority complex. Our children are still experiencing these particular issues. And they have nobody to talk to. This is the other thing. The role of the father is not just to be the provider, it's to be the teacher, it's to be the mentor, it's to be the example, it's to be the leader, it's to be the hero, the one who's looked up to, the one who is admired, the one who the child is amazed by. Ask your average Muslim child out there, who is their hero? Who's the one that's the toughest guy in their life? The one they just have so much, like I said, they've learned, the greatest lessons that I've learned from in my life are from this person. They won't say father. Isn't that sad? And I used to say this, you know, I, alhamdulillah, by Allah's grace, was able to give all the tarbiyah to my children. Because you know why I gave the tarbiyah to my children? I said, I do not want any other man to give the tarbiyah to my children about what is the most important lessons of life. I want to be the one who gives them the lessons of life. Not saying that other people are not good enough, but I don't want to give that job to somebody else to do. I want to do this job. And how? Through, as I said, mercy. through teaching with love, and teaching in a way by leading by example. And I'm not saying this about, because people can say, Alyas, you're talking about all this stuff, yeah, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating, yeah, as they say. What about your 5 children? Okay, because if my 5 children are not following this example, then I'm a munafiq here, really. Come on, I'm a munafiq, yeah. And I say, yes, okay, by all means, examine me and look at my children, yeah. That's what I say. My oldest is 29 to 11. So I have 5 children from 29, 26, 24, 18, 11. And yes, you have to look at my children. And, my children, obviously, alhamdulillah, even though I live in an area which is regarded as one of the poorest areas of Bradford, and my children went to schools which are in the 5% worst schools in the country, they got results which are the best results in the country. And they went to the best universities in the country. And they, alhamdulillah, but okay, so that's dunya, not interested in dunya. What about their deen? And I'm just saying this by Allah's grace, and it's only by Allah's hand, yeah? That, my children, alhamdulillah, they follow the deen, they pray, they fast, they do all of the things that they are required to do, but, and they're involved in Islamic work and all this kind of stuff. But the point here is this is the point I want to make. I've never ever told my children to pray. I've never ever told them to fast. I've never told them to fast on Ashura. Forget about Ramadan, even Ashura. I've never told my children to fast on Ashura or Arafat. I've never told my children to give zakah. I've never told them to give sadaqah. I've never told my daughters to wear hijab. Never had to tell them. But they do it. Why? Maybe it's because of their mother. That's all I can say. Not the father, yeah? Because let me tell you why. If you have to tell your children to pray, I think you failed. But if your children love to pray because you pray, because they want to emulate you, that's what we have to work towards. If your daughters, you're telling them to wear hijab, again, it's an important thing that we have to do. But if they cover up and have haya because they want to have this, because all of the role models that they love to emulate are like this, this is what we have to work towards. And ask yourself the question, which of the two is it? I've never even told my children to study. I've never told them to go to school. My children say they don't want to go to school. I say, you don't want to go to school. But you have to spend 10 hours learning still. Yeah? They've spent their time studying and learning. Never told them to read Quran on Surah Al-Kahf. I've never told my children to read Surah Al-Kahf on a Friday. They do it. Why? I said we have the fast of Ashura. I never told my children to fast on Ashura. This is the difference between what we call authoritarian, when you have to tell people it's authoritarian, and authoritative, where people will say, I accept this person's qawwam, and I accept this person's authority, and I accept my dad because, you know what, my dad, because if I'm a munafiq, really, if I say one thing and do another, that's the manifest, this is what's going to be the state of my children. And I have to examine myself by my children, not by other people's children. So this is the key thing. It's easier to build, there are images in this, I just say, but everything for this benefit, inshallah, is fine. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. This is Frederick Douglass, and he's talking about what was happening in with the African American community due to slavery for 300 years. We had the complete destruction of the family system there due to slavery. And, we have all these problems today with certain communities all around the world, where there's drug problems, alcohol problems, crime problems, where their whole areas become associated with crime. Why? And it goes on for generation after generation, and people can't, what we call, break the cycle of it. And that's what's happening in a lot of communities, and it's happening in our community as well. The same cycle repeats itself. It's not being broken. We need to build strong children. And the people responsible for building strong children are all of us as men. All of us as men. As I said, when I talk about the father role, I'm not just talking about the immediate father. I'm talking about all of us as men, wherever we see children. And I say this, when I do the khutbah in my masjid in Bradford during the holidays, I say this to the children who come. I say, look, alhamdulillah, the VIPs have come to the masjid. And our masjid is beautiful now because the children are here in the holidays in the masjid. It is really a sight of beauty. Truly. And I remember when I grew up, and I'm going to say this is a fact. Look, as I said, I'm a certain generation, 55, When we used to go to the masjid, the elders were just very harsh with us. They didn't show us love. I can't ever remember the elders showing love. I'll give you an example. Yeah, I did the khutbah in the masjid recently. Yeah, and there was a little kid, and afterwards his dad said he wants to come and give you salam. I was so honored that he waited for me, and this little four-year-old, 5-year-old, yeah, okay, wanted to say salam to me after khutbah. Yeah, I was so honored, and so I went and I said to him, "Oh, thank you so much." I showed, because this is the way the Prophet ﷺ was with children. Showed so much love, this child. Why? Let me tell you why. If I just ignored the child, because I think I'm so important, and I'm an elder, and I don't want to humble myself, that child's going to have a bad experience, and that bad experience creates a neural connection that child will remember. He's making an association with this building. And that association with this building, yeah, is going to have a lifelong impact on that child. It's a fact. We ran away from the masjid when we were kids. As the 11 to 25-year-olds are running away from the masjid at the moment. Like I said, our masjid, but most of the masajid. Really, this is the reality of them. And if they are running away from the masjid, this demographic, what do you think is going to be in 2040? Who's going to be in the masajid? All these big mosques that we've built with hundreds of millions of pounds of money in the UK. Who's going to be occupying these masajid? Who's going to be coming to the madaris? Like I said, the children are here, but this group is missing. I want that child, when they come into the masjid, to have the greatest experience of their life. And this is why all of us as men have this responsibility, as father figures, as male role models, to show love to the children when they come, so that they just, and invest in them with our time, and with our money, and with our love and rahmah upon them. That's how they will be attached to this, because they're getting everything outside, but not in here. I'm telling you, when you grow up, we've got nothing but harshness from our elders. They did not make us, I can't ever remember an elder showing us love and mercy. So I gave you that kid, I said, here, and I gave him some money, yeah? So I said, I want you to go after Jummah now and buy ice cream for you and all of your brothers and sisters. Okay? What's the point? I'm not paying him off. It's just showing love. That's all it is. It's showing love to the child. And I'll give you a little story, guys. It's a very nice story, yeah? My grandmother, okay, my nanny, yeah, she was a very religious woman. Alhamdulillah, Allah have mercy upon her, inshallah, ameen, and all of our grandmothers who have passed, ameen. And this is in 1970s. There wasn't much Islam. There wasn't many masajid. 1970s, there wasn't much going on in Islamic Tarbiyah. She used to pray. She was very strict, and she never liked her picture being taken. She said, "Oh, you can't take my tasweer." She says, "Haram, haram." She was very strict on these things, yeah? Which was very ajib, because nobody was like this in 1975, 76. No one was like this. Now, one of the things that Nani used to do was this, yeah, that whenever we learned something, okay, if it was Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, or it was Bismillah or La ilaha illallah, we'd come up to her and say, "Nani, La ilaha illallah," and she would give us 5p. Okay, she would give me 5p, which was a lot of money then, 10 pence. Okay, if you said, if you did a surah, she gave you 10 pence. Allahu Akbar. And really, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْدُهَا مِنْ بَعْدٍ. That's what it is. She was nurturing the next generation. I'm here because of her. Allahu Akbar. Really. The seeds that she put in. And the seed was with love, not with harshness. And we would get that 10p, you know what we would do? Run straight to the shop, and I would buy a curly whirly. Okay, anyone know what a curly whirly is? Yeah. Back then, the curly whirly was like this big. Okay, now it's like this big, yeah? Okay, we used to buy this curly whirly sweet, yeah? And we used to eat this sweet, and then we'd go back. Now my brother, okay, older brother, we used to have a tape then, and it was Qari Abdul Basit, rahimahullah, the great Qari from Misr, yeah, the great Egyptian Qari, and he's very amazing Qari, subhanAllah. And there was a surah in there, Surah Al Imran. And brothers, I'm going to tell you a story. As a child, we used to listen to this tape. And that bit, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْدُهَا مِنْ بَعْدٍ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. As a child, I learned this. And I would go around all the time, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْدُهَا مِنْ بَعْدٍ, just saying it. I didn't know what it meant. Isn't that ajib? What it meant, and I'm here at the age of 55 mentioning the same verse. What it means is one generation after the other generation. It's referring to Al Imran. I didn't even know what it meant, but there's so much hikmah in what that verse was, yeah? My brother learned the whole of that tape. And so he would go and he would recite, like Qari Abdul Basit, yeah? 1977, long time ago. You got £5. And yet, Uncle, what was £5 in 1977? How much money was that? Was that a lot of money? Yeah, it was a lot of money, £5 back in 1977, yeah? So the point here is Nani's putting love of Islam in the hearts of the children. And that's the seed that's there. And this is really the key of what we need to do. So we have to build strong children. But what I'm going to do now is this, inshallah, yeah? As I said, I haven't got time to go through the whole program, yeah? But what I wanted to do is really give you an idea of, like I said, this program is a program I deliver for non-Muslims, and it's like I said, it's a general program. It has an Islamic component to it, yeah. So the first module that I do is all around the role of the father, and as I said, this whole idea around this, that fathers are an essential, kind of component in the life of the child, and this is something that's become undermined. The long-term development of the child depends upon having a very strong connection with not just the mother, but with the father. In a mother-father situation. That's why when we see increased divorces taking place in our community, the number one factor which causes the most mental health issues on children that I'm working with is when they are brought up in houses where there is nushuz, marital discord, marital problems, divorces, and early separation that takes place. It causes a massive issue, because what often ends up happening with most of the divorces in our community is that the mother will maintain the care of the children and the father goes away. And also the family system, the family court system here in the UK, what it does is that it favors obviously females over males. Because that's the reality, there's a bias. And brothers, I'm going to tell you straight, and it's on the tape, and I've said this for 20 years plus. If you are a Muslim father, okay, you're the wrong color, you're the wrong religion, you've got a beard, that's it. Forget it. The system is biased against you. And you will be denied access to your children. And if you divorce, and it's acrimonious, and there's a lot of conflict, you will be denied access to your children. That's it, fact. And the children, as a result of that, will be harmed. Every time I do relationship counseling with couples, and I say to them, number one priority is your children and their well-being. They will be harmed by your divorce. But you can minimize the effect of that by still being two good parents, by cooperating with one another in the care of it. Do they do this? No. I say you can do it in two ways. We can sit down and we can do an arrangement around co-parenting. We can work together. Or you can go to the family court and spend £15,000 and pay solicitors and lawyers and still not come to the same agreement. What do people do? They go through the courts and spend thousands and thousands of pounds wasting their money, and still they don't come to it. The system is biased against Muslim men, fact. So therefore, if it's biased against you, why do you fall into the trap? Why don't you just cooperate? Why don't you work for the interests of your children? As I said, fathers are essential. And when the father themselves is damaged, this is another thing, brothers, you've got to realize, yeah, that fathers themselves, when they have problems, then they transform these problems. So again, let me give you examples of, if a father has a drug problem, what do you think happens with the children? What do you think is the impact of the father when he has a drug problem? When the father is a victim of domestic violence, when they've experienced domestic violence and abuse, what do you think they do with their own children? If the father has been to prison, and then, is an ex-offender, and I'm not labeling it, it's just, this is the word, and then they come out of prison and they have to look after children, they haven't got, how do you think that impacts on the children? If the father has a mental health problem, if the father, like I said, has social problems, how do you think this, so the father has to do the ilaj upon themselves. In order to be a better father, you have to be a better man. You've got to get over your drug problem, your mental health problem, your criminal problem, all of these social problems, behavioral problems. You have to deal with these problems yourself. Because if you do not deal with these problems in yourself, then how are you going to transfer it? And I'll give you an example. I did this lecture a while ago and people didn't like it, but I said that, this is it, it's a fact. Before you have a child, do you do an examination of yourself to see whether you are fit to have a child? Do you do this examination? No, people don't do this examination. So therefore, you have a child, you bring a child, you are a broken man yourself. You are a damaged man yourself. You have problems yourself. And now you're bringing a child into the world for whom you have to be the role model, and this is an amana. The point here is this, look, you need to look at yourself as a man and say, what are my deficiencies? What are my weaknesses? What are the problems that I have? I need to work on myself, to improve myself, develop myself, to change this behavior. And then, inshallah, I will be a better father for my children. And really do it before you are going to have children rather than after. As I said, the role of the father has been, there is the demise of the father role. Okay, the males are pulled towards and immersed in, society, dunya, and, the role of the status of the father has gone down in society and is being undermined. So, again, where do we learn this role? So, this role is learned, like I said, from our own negative experiences rather than actually studying it. I also, in this program, spent a lot of time researching material like Dr. Matters. He's brought in some very, very beneficial books. And like I said, I've reviewed these books. And I can say that from a Sharia perspective, I find nothing in this material which is something which we can probe. I also like this quote, and this is from Stephen Biddulph, who wrote a book called Fatherhood. Again, a very good book, He comes from a Christian background, but really many of the principles are the same kind of principles we're talking about. We can't expect boys to be good men if they don't see good men. How many of our boys really have contact with good, positive male role models? How many? In fact, this is what we call absent fathers. You see, the father's working all the time. Now let's look at it. Mother's primary carer. So mother is the main. They go to nursery school and reception and primary school. The majority of the teachers are female. I'm not disrespecting them. Majority of the teachers are female. All the way through the early years, they're only exposed to female role models. And again, I'm not disrespecting a lot of good women, alhamdulillah. Then they're going to high school, and they're going through, boys in particular, boys are becoming men, becoming baligh. This is one of the most important development periods for men and girls as well. Girls, women, boys to men. And they're becoming baligh. One of the important developmental periods in their life. And we don't give them any tarbiyah at all. And they feel shame and guilt. And they're going through all this change and they don't even talk to their father about this. Is it no surprise they have a big tuft of hair under their arm? No one's told them about tahara. No one gives them any tarbiyah, and then we tell them to actually go to PSHE in school rather than tarbiyah from our perspective about what it means to be baligh. If you think about it, if they're going from becoming a boy to a man, all the way, they've never had a positive male role model at all in their life. Then they go to high school, and then they become what we call male peer associate. They start to then hang out with their friends, and they become, you see this, they start to disconnect from their families. And this is where all the parents are crying, when their children are connected to their friends' peer group and spend all their time there rather than with the family. They become disconnected from the family. They're looking for male role models, and then they get a negative male role model who pulls them in the wrong direction. You see, at no point in their life did they have a male role model, because the father, like I said, busy, too active elsewhere, working all the time, absent in the life of the children. Only female role models they've had. How can you expect him to be a good man if he hasn't got... And being a good man isn't 5 minutes or 10 minutes here. It's, like I said, spending proper time with your children so they look at your example and they will emulate their example. This is the key thing the kind of parenting role is. Father is the noblest title that you can give. One of the greatest roles is that you are a father. And it's not just biological. That's what they want you to make it, just biological. No, you are the leader. You are the role model, you are the confidant, you are the teacher, you are the hero, you are the friend. This is how your children need to look at you as. And this is the point I make. Why I'm making this point, brothers, this is part of the mentality in our community. This is one of the things that's happening in our community. Rather than, what we do is this. When we have problems in our community, we blame everybody else. And we say, oh, it's because of the fact that we don't live in our culture anymore, or we don't have this, or that, or the children don't listen to us. People make all excuses. I say, let us rise to the challenge. Let us as men rise to the challenge rather than go down and expect, make excuses. Get better. Not make excuses. I'll give you an example. At the moment, what's happening in society here is that Muslim women and Muslim girls are doing better than Muslim men, and they've been doing for the last 20 years. So our daughters are getting better, more educated at universities. They have better jobs, they have higher earnings, and they are following the deen more. You see it amongst our sisters, alhamdulillah, by Allah's grace. The men are not doing as well. The men are lower down, and the women are higher up here.
The parents are the same.
Huh?
Parents are the same.
Say, the masla, how can a man become qawwam when they are below the level? Now, I don't expect men to become, you get 2 more degrees or things like that. In our adab, in our akhlaq, in our suluk, in our way that we behave, we have to be noble men, better men. We have to rise, we have to get higher, not lower, and say, okay, the solution is, let's not send our daughters to university anymore. Let's not educate them. Some people are saying this on social media. The problem is that we educate our daughters. No, the problem is that men don't educate themselves. And men are not educating themselves to be better men. We expect everyone else to come down rather than us go up. As I said, brothers, go up. You are a father now. You are a leader. Be a leader. Have the qualities of a leader. Model yourself upon on the best. And so, these are, like I said, some of the... So module number 1, we talk about this. Then I'm going to go, brothers, I'm going to move on to this and give you just a taster of a few more of the modules, inshallah, to give you an idea of how, the kind of key things that we talk about, yeah? As I said, it's very, very, a lot of content, as you can see, yeah? Okay? Next, brothers, I move on to this, okay? So this is again something that amazing that we don't realize, and early years development, 0 to 4. This is the most important period in the development of the child, because the hadith told us this, but also the science tells us this. And what they did is they did research, and they looked at the development taking place at 0 to 4. And this is a study that was done called the Minneapolis study. It's the longest study over 50 years. Spent 50 years research. And they found that what was happening at 0 to 4, they could predict what would happen at the age of 15 based on the first 4 years. To 80% accuracy. 80%. The hadith of the Prophet restates it to 100% accuracy, that every child is upon fitrah and abawahu makes them into this. So they predicted to 80% accuracy whether the child would be in prison or not in prison, would have drug problems or not drug problems, would have obesity or non-obesity, all of that at the age of... And really, when I look at the environment of children that are growing up, we can predict what's going to happen, bi'idhnillah. We know what's going to happen. I can predict what's going to happen in this community in the year 2040. I know what's going to happen. Not because I have ilm al-ghayb, no, we're using this what you call beneficial knowledge of the law of cause and effect of all these basic factors to find out if we are not investing in this way and the fathers are not fulfilling their role and no one's paying attention because really most of this message is not getting out to our community, then I know what's going to happen by the year 2040, and our situation is not going to be better, it's going to be much worse. It's a fact. So we can predict what's going to happen. And as I said, the difference between the people in Jesmond and here is that they know, okay, we can predict what's going to happen, so let us control the environment or control the factors. So what is happening in the early development of the child is that we're developing physical, social, emotional, and cognitive. And what this means is that obviously the physical body is developing, and that's size, growth, movement, but also they're developing language and communication. Okay, they're developing the emotional side, which is the attachment and bonding. And this is the weakest area in our community. And then there's also what we call cognitive learning. They are developing. Because from the era, have you ever thought about it? From the age of 0 to 4, the child learns language, how to survive, walk, talk, survive in this world from nothing. And what this shows is that this development from 0 to 4 is greater than the whole of the rest of your life. Do you know this? So if that is the case, that they're learning from 0 to 4 more than they learn from 4 to 70, what does that show you? The greatest madrasa. Where is the greatest madrasa? The greatest madrasa is in the home with 2 parents and the father playing a key role. Do you know children, and many of us who are bilingual, who speak 2 languages, some of us 3, and some of us 4, subhanAllah. Do you know a child is able to easily learn 2 to 3 languages by the age of 4? Easy, without an accent. You see it, that we learn these. Why? Especially in the households. This is an interesting thing. Only happens in the households when parents are talking to their children fluently in that language. And the children pick up all of the languages. Our households, it actually doesn't operate that. They learn 1 language generally, which is mother tongue, and they're underdeveloped in other languages. But whether it's Arabic, whether it's Urdu, whether it's Bengali, whether it's Somali, whatever the language is, have you not thought about what's actually happening here? Do you know the cognitive development is that if you are talking to your baby from as early as 3 months old, your child is understanding that everything is going in. You don't realize this. And if you spend more time, and what I call natural learning, not forced learning, the child is developing thinking, learning, and understanding skills. And that's what all they say. You see these children at the age of 4, and they have all these amazing skills, and you think, oh wow, these must be genius children. No, this is a lie that they told you. All children are genius children. All children have the same brain. It's just that parent. And this is it. Look at it. If you look at the age of 2 years, this is what we call the density of synaptic connections in the brain. Because the brain consists obviously of what we call neurons. These are brain cells that connect with one another. Whenever we have, even now we're doing it, our brain cells are connecting like this, yeah? By the age of 3, they've developed 1,000 trillion brain connections. 1,000 trillion, 1 million every second. The child is operating at super genius level. Every child is operating at super genius level. So they're filling their children with super genius stuff, whereas we're not. It's a big difference, yeah? And that's why it's so easy to learn all of this stuff from 0 to 4. We start at much, and again, have you ever noticed, do you know the Western education system is very different from other education systems? Other education systems take the child at the age of 5, 6, or 7. Our education system takes the child at 3. What's that about? If not hijacking the development of your child. What is that about? Because they're taking it away from the mother and the father. The state becomes the educator. And when all this stuff that people talk about later on, we don't like this curriculum and that curriculum. Too late. You gave the child at the age of 3 to be socially indoctrinated and programmed by the education system up until the age of 13. You've already done it. They're more powerful in educating and programming your child. This is programming, and laying down the program, the foundational program. They're doing it. We're not. And so by 2 years, they have the highest density of neurons. So it's 1,000 trillion neurons. Okay, not synaptic connections by the age of 3. By adulthood, then we lose 500 million because we don't use them anymore. So it goes down to 500 million. So, can you realize just on this how amazing what's happening in these early years? How can a dad not want to be involved in this? And by just leaving it to mother, and then sometimes mother is in crisis, she's not doing the full work. So this is just again part of the beneficial knowledge that we have on this particular subject. So I do a lot around what I call the science of the neurological kind of development of the child. As I said, the child is operating. Okay, this is amazing that you don't realize, that your child is operating at what we call super genius level. They are non-stop learners. They are like sponges, which is absorbing everything in the environment. Their potential is phenomenal. The biggest limitation is what the parents are doing, and the carers. They're the ones limiting it, not the child. And as I said, they are learning by a sponge absorbing the environment, looking at behavior, imitating it. That's how they learn to walk, talk, speak, understand everything. Imitation, and operating at super genius. Yeah. The innate genius of baby brains. The idea that your baby is a genius is a neurological phenomenon. Okay, and Maria Montessori, who developed her nursery system, when she said that we would need 60 years of hard work to accomplish what they achieved in 3 years. Allahu Akbar. Why don't, if by a dad knowing this, why on earth would they want to? This is the wealth. Our wealth is our children. Obviously, one of the important things, inshallah. So from this, I go on to then how children then become what I call degenius, how they lose this, yeah. We go through, again, the power of their brains, okay. Now, this is unfortunately one of the things that happens that interrupts the development of children, yeah. And we call this child trauma or adverse childhood experiences. This is what it's called. And again, the trauma that is happening. So this is what we call, if in this period of development where the brain is developing, the house is chaos. What do you think happens with chaos houses? And we may say this about certain communities. Look at them; they're dysfunctional, they're broken, their home environments are, a mess. There's abuse and neglect, alcohol and drugs, poverty, all of these. I'm afraid this is our communities as well. Look at the chaos in our houses. You got satellite dish dramas all day long, children on tablets, PlayStation, screaming, shouting. No, dad out, mum constantly working. Is this not chaos? And if the environment, as I said, look, if the environment is not developing, it's underdeveloping or developing in a negative way. As I told you, the stress of the child in the womb underdevelops the child. So what about the stress in the first 3 years? And this trauma, which we're not dealing with. So, brothers, as a psychologist, when I work with children in teenage years or adults, 90% of the problems that we're dealing with started in childhood. And it was from the home, 90%. The children who are leaving Islam, okay, all of, as I said, underdevelopment, poverty, criminality, substance use, domestic violence, mental health problems, all started where? Started in the chaos of the home. And most of it is linked to what I call absent fathers, fathers who are not present in this household as well. Just a few more points, inshallah. Okay, so I go through all of the issues around this. What is it? We talk about how to build the brain. So this is all about the brain building. I do look at the brain scans, and again, how we engage in early development. And what's interesting as well, brothers, look, if you look at all the images here, I'll give you some example of the images. This is again how I won't go to because it's easier to text. Do you know in all of the images around parenting, you don't see a dad. All of them. It's all women, and it's all mothers, all the time. It's mothers. Here, mothers. Hey, one dad. Okay. And here, always mothers. Okay. Where are the dads? They've almost taken us out because they don't want us to be in the home with the family. I've told you, this is what I call defatherization. Brothers, in society, if you look at the media and social media, people celebrate the role of the mother and as a parent. Alhamdulillah, because we as well do that. Can you tell me anywhere where you see the celebration of the hard-working father making halal rizq, coming home, spending time with the kids, bringing up the kids with love and mercy, supporting the kids and being a good father and being a good... Where have you seen it anywhere? Tell me anywhere in the media you see this representation. Nowhere. It's always the father is abusive, or the father is absent, or the father is divorced, or the father is separated, or the father is drunk. Where is it? This in itself, as I said, is social programming from a very young age. The other thing we do is what we call attachment theory. Yeah? And again, a lot of the problems we're seeing in children is due to them. What ends up happening is this. Okay, children, detach. They don't feel secure with mother and dad because they're not there, and then they become attached elsewhere. So this is another one of the key areas. How do we stop our children from detaching from us? Yeah, and just a few, like I said. Also, what we have is the parenting styles, different parenting styles and principles of parenting, as well. As I said, the key style is what we call the authoritative parenting style. one of the important things that fathers need to do, yeah, is themselves, we need to become resilient. So this program, I call it Resilient Dads. Dads need to be stronger. Dads need to have more istiqamah. Dads need to be people who, again, deal with their own issues. If you're not dealing with your own issues, then those issues are going to affect your children, yeah? We have to be also people of greater emotional control. When children see this, okay, and this is what we call the body scans of emotions, yeah? When children see a father who is angry, a father who is shouting, a father who is screaming, وَالْكَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, who can't control the anger, what do you think it does for children? To see someone who is behaving in an emotional way like this, yeah? So again, part of that is that we have to be people who have greater control over our emotions and greater control over our anger. Also, we have to be the ones who, part of our role of fathers is, as I said, tarbiyah, being the example in terms of iman and taqwa as well, yeah? And also, saluk and adab, the manners that we've been talking about, yeah? And then just, let's have a look at a few more points, inshallah. And just an interesting one here as well, okay? What you also find is this, healthy lifestyle. This is also about diet. Why is it in our community we have higher diabetes, type 2 diabetes, higher blood pressure, higher hypertension, more lifestyle diseases? Why? Why do we have greater obesity in our community, especially when elders, as well, that all these health problems these are all, again, things which are down to the home environment. Why is our children eating unhealthy food and eating junk food? Why is it that, children go out to takeaways and all these kind of things, yeah? Nutrition is also a really important thing. And again, you model the behavior of the family. If the family doesn't have healthy diet, and look, this is the interesting thing, yeah? That we always talk about our food must be halal. But Allah says it has to be tayyib as well. And azka ta'am, ashab al-kahf, when they went into the cities to get food, He said azka ta'am. Get pure food, good food, halal food, rizq, which is, and nutritious food. And unfortunately, our children do not lead healthy lifestyles. When's the last time? And this is a really important thing. Father takes them to the park every day, or goes running, or goes to do exercise. He's playing sports with the kids. He's teaching them sports. Where is all of this? Dads don't have time. Oh, I'm too tired to teach them how to play football. Yeah, they should. And so therefore, what do? They go into the online space and they're stuck in this. Yeah, really, sport, exercise, physical activity. One of the things they found is this: just walking, taking your child for a walk in the park on a regular basis creates bonding between father and child. Just walking in nature. Something as simple as this. When's the last time a father even takes their child for a walk in the park, yeah? For a walk in the countryside? When is it, and I said this to one of the fathers. I said to him, whose children, have completely left him and have no interest in him whatsoever, yeah? I said to him, okay, when's the last time you went on a holiday with your children? When's the last time you went out? He says, 20 years. Never once. Not even once. So what do you think is going to happen? The research on what we call diet, and we know this from the Quran. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Eat and drink, but do not be excessive. So all the research around diet, very important as well, yeah? And preventing childhood obesity. Okay, so subhanAllah, brothers, that gives you a bit of a taster, inshallah. I know we've gone over time, inshallah. Okay, we have questions? What?
Check your phone.
Okay, khair, inshallah. Who? What? Check what?
Texted you the...
Oh, you texted me. Okay, khair, inshallah, yeah. Okay, so we've got questions, inshallah. So, brothers and sisters, what we'll do is, inshallah, we close it for now, inshallah. I've given you a taster of what this important program is about. And just a final point, inshallah, before we finish. Like I said, this is a 12-module program. I deliver it online. And inshallah, I hope to be delivering it in October. Okay, so inshallah, it is something which is very necessary for anyone who's going to be a father, even for grandfathers as well. Because again, the grandfather role is very important. If you're an uncle, any male, because the Prophet ﷺ, he had his own children, but he would look after the children of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen as well. And so they would be under his guardianship as well. And this is the way of the Prophet ﷺ. I think it's a beautiful hadith that the children would hold the hand of the Prophet ﷺ and he would not let go. Okay, this is how he was with children, very close and very loving towards each other. And throughout the Quran, as we said, these stories of father and son are very important, stories which exist, inshallah. So I do encourage everyone to take part in this program, to learn these, and I'm happy to share all the materials. Like I said, I spent 2 years putting all this material together. There's a lot, happy to share it. But I'll only share it with people who genuinely want to learn it and spread this and teach others and learn these principles. As I said, brothers, this is such an important role. I can't underestimate it. The crisis that we are having at the moment is all down to the breakdown of the family unit and the breakdown of the role of the father in particular, okay, as the leader of the family. And if that father fulfills this role, then inshallah you will immediately see the benefits that occur, inshallah. So we open it up for questions, inshallah.
I'm sure all the complaints coming to you
Yes.
have the age range from 14 to 20.
No, I'm getting now, Sheikh, I'm getting really 9 to 11 as well now. Children who have problems.
The point is,
Yeah.
apart from tarbiyah, whatever it is, good or bad, the biological changes from 14 to 19 are tremendous.
Correct.
He becomes rebellion. He doesn't want any control.
Yes.
He wants that he is the wise enough to make decisions.
Say.
So at most, in fact, the parents should be losing their control during that age and trying to bring him active physical activity,
Say.
like as you said. Sports.
Absolutely. Sure.
Sports.
Yes.
The basic reason is whatever training that Tarbiyah is given is actually appears after 14.
Correct. Correct.
So earlier than he is under control.
That's right.
He doesn't want to say anything.
There isn't,
Yeah.
they haven't got testosterone and estrogen.
That's right.
They haven't become baligh. And Sheikh, you're absolutely right. The foundations that are laid show their benefit and their fruits in puberty. And if your children disconnect here, it's because you didn't lay the
But
foundation.
this age is common, irrespective of which particular culture is our or theirs.
Yeah.
This rebellious age is common. The question is how to control during that age.
Yes.
What kind of facilities you got to provide during that age,
Okay.
so that whatever the earlier shortage of the tarbiyah is overcome.
Yes. Sheikh,
That is most important.
yes. No, alhamdulillah, you're absolutely right. We know it's going to happen, and it happens universally across all cultures. And so what we have to do is that we have to then provide the measures to prevent it. So the measures that we use to prevent it is this. We need to provide, in particular, positive male role models and father figures. This is also for the girls. You see, when the teenage girls don't have a father figure or their father is absent, they have, and it's commonly known as what we call daddy issues. Daddy issues means what? They're looking for a male role model. And this is where they can become open to abuse as well. They need to see good men. Because if they've only seen bad men, what do you think is going to become their mindset in relation to men? They start hating men. Okay, this is the thing. So you're right. So the programs that we are running here, and this masjid, alhamdulillah, by Allah's grace, is more active than 90% of the masajid across the country. Things like the Hype, which is providing positive role models, activities, tarbiyah with rahmah, with mercy, explaining things in the language they understand, talking about the issues which are affecting them, but showing them support in this age, helping them through it, and talking to them about all of these so they don't have shame, and they don't feel guilty, and they don't have then a double life. Okay, so this is the role that we need to play, because you're right, many of the kids haven't had this, so then we need to become the community. It says it takes a village to raise a child. And when the village is all supporting each other and there are many people helping the child's going to have a better outcome. Our societies have become so broken because everything is individualistic now. Families don't talk to families. People do not feel part of the community. They're alone, isolated. This is also something which is part of the problem. Yeah.
There is another bad habit. I'm sorry to
No, Sheikh, it's very good, inshallah.
There is another bad habit among our families, that the mothers continue showing father as authority and fear from him, and keeping only my love is put out. That actually makes the father act distant.
Correct. Very good point.
And yeah.
Very good point.
And that's where we actually become upset.
Yes. You see, Sheikh, you're absolutely right. The father is the disciplinarian,
Yeah.
and the one who gives punishment, and the mother is the one who gives rahmah. This is wrong.
Very wrong.
Both together give both.
So
So
we are
united, yeah. Because you're also already making father as almost a hate figure, and the mother as the love figure. And sometimes, you know, they do it deliberately because the mother wants her children to be closer to her and not so close to the dad. Yeah, there is a psychology. There's a psychology to this. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And this is not the way. This is not the way the Prophet ﷺ, he showed rahmah, mercy, love, connection, all of the things which you associated with being the female part of caring. The Prophet ﷺ. So this is never like females do this and males do that. No, males do everything in the same way as the females do it, yeah, as actively involved, yeah, showing the mercy, showing the love, showing the kindness. And if you need to discipline the child, I always say there's a difference between punishment and discipline. The word discipline comes from the word disciple, which means student, which means you're teaching the child to be better, not punishing them.
Yeah, but mother should not take this role. He should become friendly.
Yeah.
Despite what mother says, he should become friendly.
Yes.
That it's everything
Yeah,
fine.
and do you know how it becomes? Look, Sheikh, let me give you an example. Mothers all day with children, the children are playing up, the children are behaving, dad comes home from work, he's tired, tell the children off, the father just tells the children off, and that's it. It becomes a normalized, that dad comes home from work, tells us off, punishes us, mother, yeah. So this is, again, needs to okay. So the question that we got, my parents' marriage isn't great, I find it hard to face my father every day and have a cold heart towards him. Towards him due to him neglecting and being absent in my life, leaving me damaged, and I get told by my mum to accept how my father is, and both of my parents forcefully live with each other but don't speak and have a bad relationship, and I have to deal with the toxic and negativity. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with it Islamically so I'm not earning Allah's wrath or getting sinned? Subhanallah. And this is very common, unfortunately. This question, this scenario is a very common situation. Children are growing up in marriages which are unhappy, mother and father are not happy with each other. They are being abusive, swearing, shouting, screaming, not giving each other rights, not showing good manners, not showing conduct. And the children are growing up in this environment. And then, as Sheikh has mentioned, they're being pulled this way and pulled that way. And then the parents are putting the children against each other. We know this happens. I deal with it every day. We know this. And then you suddenly expect your children to grow up to be, balanced and healthy, emotionally and socially. They're damaged. So then drugs, gangs, all the negatives become a way I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, of self-medicating, escaping from the world. This is what children end up doing. And then when they themselves become parents with such a bad experience of parenting themselves, they repeat the cycle of behavior. I had it this week, one brother, he said, and he said, my grandfather came here, he married a woman, and she had children to her, and then he left the children. And then my dad, he, married, and he left his children. Okay, and now I'm in this situation, and I'm going through the same thing. Okay, so it becomes damage. It's called repeating the cycle of behavior. Now, Islamically, what are the children required to do here? You see, look, even though both of your parents are people who are perhaps not behaving in the right way, that doesn't mean you behave in the wrong way. Allah says in the Quran, لا تستوي الحسنات والسيئات إدفع بالتي هي أحسن. The good deed and the evil deed are not equate. Repel the evil with what is better. So still maintain وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Still try to be good to both of your parents. If they're not pushing you towards haram or bad things, then still be obedient towards them, loving towards them, caring towards them, and support them. And realize that they're insan. They themselves are damaged. But this is not enough. You need help from the community. And this is one of the most important things here, brothers, in this situation. And we do not do it. We call it family mediation, islah. To maintain sillat ar-raham, to maintain the ties. And what does this mean? That means we talk with the family. We do the dialogue in the family. We resolve the disputes between the family. We try to rectify the situation. We try to improve the situation so it's for the being of, but our communities, they don't agree to this. Because why is as Sheikh mentioned, that father said, no, I'm the one who's in charge, you have to listen to me, and that's it. So they don't accept. So we need to have more family mediation. We need more trained counselors. We need more people to do this family work. We call it systemic family work or family counseling to help to address the family. And the third thing is that if through this things still don't work, then the best thing is for them to make talaq, to separate as husband and wife, because it's not working. Just because two people are not married does not mean that they can't be good parents to their children. Sometimes they can be better parents for your children because you're not in this abusive environment. So in this case, divorce is actually something which is good. Why? It's not harming the children. Okay? And, sometimes a lot of cultures, as I said, the big barrier is cultural barrier. A lot of our cultures, children, people don't get divorced because they say it's stigma or shame so they continue in this abusive situation and they're harming their children. That's it. And those children become damaged. And the same, as I said. So first thing is that let us give support to the child as much as possible and provide positive role models. Number 2, child still try to maintain good parent relations with the parent. Number 3, family counseling and systemic family work. And if this doesn't work, then separation and divorce better. And then helping them both do parenting so they can continue to be good parents, inshallah, for the child. But this is a sad story, very sad story of how this is affecting the child. And there are too many children like this, unfortunately, in our community, inshallah. Any more questions, please?
I've got a question.
Yes, brother. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
In the course of the lecture, you made mention of something that as a parent, you see yourself as a broken parent, you need to cross-examine yourself first before you embark on child.
Yes.
Won't this lead us to the issue of family planning in this case? Can we say that if you, in the course of you trying to examine yourself,
Yes.
trying to fix your situation, that period, of course, you are not expected to go into childbearing.
Correct.
That will lead us to some form of family planning or.
And this is fine because this is not against Islam. You've got to realize family planning is not against the Sharia. Okay? If the maqsad, the reason for doing it, is something which is in accordance with the maqasid of Sharia. Now let me give you an example. If someone says, let me give you an example. If someone knows that they have a genetic condition, that if they therefore, as a result of this genetic condition, bring children in the world who have a very, very harmful genetic disorder, for them to have children that's going to bring children into the world that's going to be very harmful, it needs some planning. It needs some kind of planning, some kind of intelligence, some kind of understanding of this particular issue. So this is not family planning. We're not using birth control. We're not trying to say we depopulate the Muslims. No. There's enough Muslims in the world at the moment. What I'm saying is this. If you want to create a better reality for the amana Allah has given you with your children, then you need to be responsible, especially in our environment. This is my view. You don't have to agree with it. Especially in this environment where there are so many dangers and risks and threats to the child, that if they don't have a strong family unit, then this is going to harm and damage those children. And then and if we can predict that's going to happen, we have to minimize it. I'm not saying don't have children. I'm saying try to fix the situation as best as we can. And when we've done it, especially when we've identified that I have a problem, okay, then inshallah we, for example, take the responsible decision to manage our families. Manage our families. I'll give you another example. We know the science and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that if you marry within your family unit, cousins and things like this, for more than 2 generations, it creates congenital abnormalities. It creates problems. Even the Prophet ﷺ said, marry from far away, it strengthens the blood. Okay? So if people are doing this, that they are marrying within, and some cultures they do this for 3, even 4 generations, and you can see that this is creating weakness of the blood, i.e. genetic problems. Why are we doing this? Why are we not using the beneficial knowledge? Why are we engaging in this? And why are we following a culture which is harming? Remember the maqasid of the Sharia: protection of life, protection of family, protection of hifz al-aql, protection of al-ird, dignity, protection of society. So these things, we're taking them on board. So we're not saying that we don't have children. What we're saying is that we do this in a way which is responsible and mature and intelligent. That's the way we do it. Because we seem to be fixated that we have to have a big ummah, that the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ has to be the greatest. Oh, we have 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. It doesn't mean anything if only 10% of them are praying. What does it mean? What does it matter? You've got 1.6 billion. It doesn't mean anything. Even and really, this is not the meaning of this. When Allah says, "Inna a'tayna kal kawthar," verily we have bestowed upon you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al kawthar kathirun. Your ummah will be the greatest ummah. Allah's already guaranteed this to the Prophet. Okay, and but rather, and when Allah says in Surah Al-Fatihah, وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلُ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ, when Allah says, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا, people will enter into Islam afwaja, in great numbers. But then Ibn Kathir also says, and people will leave Islam also in great numbers. And we're seeing this as well. So people are caught up on this population idea, that somehow we have to have massive population size and we have to take over the world. No. We need to have quality Muslims. Mu'minun. Not just people who will say, okay, that they're just Muslim and they don't even pray or even do the basics. Okay? And really the reality is this. The generation I'm talking about, because of the broken family structure that we have here in this society, they're leaving Islam in great numbers. And it will be, I told you, the generation, they might not say they're ex-Muslims or they're leaving Islam, but they're certainly not in the masjid. I told you, the 11 to 25-year-old group is absent all over the country from the masajid. So we need quality. Really, we need quality, not quantity. This is the key point, inshallah, that I'm really trying to make. And of course, look, if people want to have children, they're going to have children. But if they know that they're going to take, this is an amana. Remember, one of the important things I perhaps did not say, your children are not your property. Allah has given them. Allah gave you your children as an amana for you to be the one who nurtures them, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ, one generation after another. They're not your property. They're not your object. They're not for you to use the way that you want to use, which again is part of the mindset, of our families and our the kind of thinking we have. So it's quality. We need the quality, and in order to develop quality, we have to be quality. This is the point, inshallah. Barakallah fi. Okay, brothers, Jazakallah khair. I hope you found it beneficial and useful. I know it went on for long, but inshallah, this is a very important subject. I hope you do understand this, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, inshallah, for your time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly, inshallah, to guide us to be good and strong and noble men, inshallah, based on and have husn al-khuluq, inshallah. Ameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.